Welcome to IELTS Self-Peep MasterPrep, your trusted source for real exam-based practice tests. Every test you see here is inspired by current exam trends, and each one comes with full model solutions to help you master every section. Here's our daily schedule. IELTS tests drop every morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and CLP tests every evening at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. No matter which exam you're preparing for, we've got you covered every single day. Are you ready for today's test? Give it your best shot and comment your score. The top 5 scorers will be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter and awards. Want your name included? Let's begin.
Section 1. You will hear a man calling a car hire company to book a vehicle for a weekend. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
Good morning, Horizon Car Hire. You're speaking with Rebecca. How can I help you today?
Oh, hello there. Yes, I'm ringing because I'd like to hire a car for the weekend, if possible. I've never used your company before, so I'm not quite sure how it all works.
Of course, no problem at all. I can set up a new booking for you right now. First of all, could I take your full name, please?
Sure. It's Graham Whitfield. That's Whitfield.
Lovely, thank you, Mr. Whitfield. And could I have a contact number for you?
Yes, my mobile is 07956 381 042.
Right, got that. And I'll need your home postcode as well, for our records.
It's BN7 for TP.
BN7, 4TP. Brilliant. Now, which dates were you looking at?
Well, I was thinking of picking the car up on Saturday, that would be the 16th of May, and then bringing it back on the Monday. So the 18th of May.
The 16th to the 18th. That's fine, we count that as a weekend rate, which is actually a bit cheaper than booking 3 separate days. Now, what sort of vehicle did you have in mind? We've got compact cars, saloons, estates, people carriers.
Well, the thing is, we're heading down to Cornwall with quite a lot of luggage, camping gear mostly, so I think we'd probably need an estate, really, for the boot space.
An estate, yes, that would make sense. Let me just check availability. Yes, we've got a couple of those available for that weekend. Now, which branch would you like to collect from? Our nearest one to your postcode would be either Brighton or Lewis.
Lewis would actually be more convenient for us. It's only about 10 minutes from the house.
Perfect. The Lewis branch opens at 8 on Saturdays, so you could collect any time from then. Right, so for an estate over the weekend period, that comes to £137 in total.
137. Right, that's not too bad actually. Does that include insurance?
It includes our basic cover, yes. But I would recommend upgrading to our premium insurance, which covers you for windscreen damage and also reduces the excess to 0. It's only an extra £15 for the whole weekend.
Oh, right. Yes, let's go with the premium then. Better to be safe, isn't it? Especially on those narrow Cornish lanes.
Absolutely, very wise. So that brings us to 152 altogether. How would you like to pay? We accept credit card, debit card, or bank transfer.
I'll use my debit card, if that's all right.
Of course, that's fine. I won't take payment now, you'll pay at the branch when you collect the vehicle. They'll just need the card and some photo ID, so a driving license would do.
Okay, perfect. And is there anything else I need to bring along?
Just your driving license and the booking reference, which I'll give you now. Have you got a pen handy?
Yes, hang on, right, go ahead.
It's HC 2490. So that's H for hotel, C for Charlie, 2490.
HC 2490. Got it. And I assume there's a fuel policy? Do I need to bring it back full?
Yes, we operate a full-to-full policy, so you'll collect it with a full tank and just need to fill it up before you return it. There's a petrol station just round the corner from the branch, so most people stop there on the way back.
That's straightforward enough. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. You've been really helpful.
You're welcome, Mr. Whitfield. Enjoy your trip to Cornwall, and we'll see you on the 16th. Bye now.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have some time to check your answers to section 1. Section 2. You will hear a radio presenter giving information about a summer festival. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Greenfield FM, and I'm Laura Pennington. Today I want to tell you all about the Riverside Summer Festival, which is coming up very soon. This year the festival will be held over the first weekend of July, that's the 4th and 5th, and it's taking place at Brampton Meadows, which is a new venue for us. We used the town hall grounds for the past 3 years, but the council decided to move it because the meadows offer twice as much space. Now, tickets. Last year adult tickets cost £12, but this year they've actually been reduced to £10, which I think is great value. Children under 12 get in completely free, so that's wonderful news for families. Tickets are available online through the festival website, and I'd recommend booking in advance because last year the event sold out a full week before the gates opened. One of the big changes this year is the headline act. Many of you might have expected a rock band, as we've had in previous years, but this time the organizers have booked a jazz ensemble called the Silver Notes. They'll be performing on Saturday evening, and I have to say, I've seen them live before and they are absolutely outstanding. In terms of food, there'll be over 30 stalls this year. The organizers specifically wanted to focus on local producers, so you'll find that the majority of vendors are from within a 20-mile radius. One thing to note, they've decided not to allow any plastic cutlery or cups this year. Instead, all food vendors are required to use biodegradable materials, which is part of the festival's new environmental policy. Now, parking is always a concern. There is a free car park at the Meadows, but it only holds around 200 cars. So the organizers are strongly encouraging people to use the shuttle bus service, which will run every 15 minutes from the central train station. A return shuttle ticket costs just £2. Let me also mention some of the festival areas. The main stage is right in the center of the Meadows and has been fitted with a brand new sound system this year. The children's zone, which is over on the eastern side, will feature a puppet theater for the first time that's replacing the bouncy castle, which had some safety concerns last year. The craft market is in the northern corner and has been expanded to include 40 stalls, up from 25 last year. Then there's the relaxation garden, which is new for this year. It's a quiet space with hammocks and deck chairs where you can get away from the noise for a while. Finally, the food court near the southern entrance has been redesigned to include covered seating areas, so you won't have to worry if the weather turns. I really think this is going to be the best Riverside Festival yet. Remember, you can find all the details and book your tickets at riversidefestival.co.uk. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.
That is the end of Section 2. You now have some time to check your answers to Section 2. Section 3. You will hear two students planning a podcast project on climate change. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30.
Thanks for meeting us, Dr. Evans. Sarah and I wanted to discuss our podcast project on climate change before we go any further.
Of course, Tom. So where are you both with the planning so far?
Well, we've settled on a 6-episode series. Originally we thought about doing 4 episodes, but we realized we couldn't cover everything properly, so we expanded it to 6.
Good. And what's the primary aim of the podcast? Is it to inform the general public, persuade policymakers, or educate fellow students?
We discussed all 3, but ultimately we want to educate fellow students. We felt that's the audience we can actually reach most effectively through a university podcast channel.
Exactly. We want to make complex science accessible to people our age rather than trying to influence policy or anything like that.
That's sensible. Now, what about your research sources? How are you gathering material?
We started by reviewing published journal articles, but Sarah suggested we also conduct interviews with researchers in the geography department, which I think adds a really personal dimension.
Yes, and we're planning to use government climate reports as our baseline data source. Tom wanted to rely mainly on news articles, but I convinced him that official reports are more credible.
I agree, government reports give you robust statistics. What about the structure of each episode?
Each episode opens with a factual overview, then moves into a discussion segment, and finishes with a listener question and answer section. We thought ending with Q&A would keep the audience engaged.
For the first episode specifically, we are focusing on rising sea levels. We considered deforestation or carbon emissions, but rising sea levels felt like the most visual and dramatic starting point.
Strong choice. How are you handling the technical recording side?
That's been interesting. Finding the right recording software took longer than we'd planned. We spent nearly 2 weeks testing different platforms before settling on one.
The editing side, though, I have to say was better than expected. I'd never used audio editing tools before, but the software was surprisingly intuitive.
And what about scripting the actual content for each episode?
Honestly, the scripting was the most challenging part of the whole process. Translating dense scientific data into casual, conversational language is incredibly difficult.
I agree with Tom on that. We've gone through about 5 drafts of episode 1 alone.
That's perfectly normal. What about the background music and sound design?
That still needs more research, actually. We haven't looked into royalty-free music libraries properly yet, so we need to spend time on that before we can finalize anything.
Make sure you do. Sound design really elevates a podcast. Now, one more thing. How will you measure whether the podcast is successful?
We're going to distribute a feedback survey after each episode through the Student Union mailing list. That way we get quantitative and qualitative data from our actual target audience.
And we'll track download numbers as a secondary measure, but the survey is our primary tool.
Excellent plan. I'd suggest you also consider inviting a guest speaker for at least one episode, perhaps someone from the environmental science department. It would add authority.
That's a great idea. We'll reach out to Professor Lee. She published that paper on Arctic ice last year.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dr. Evans. This has really helped us clarify our next steps.
My pleasure. Keep me updated on your progress.
That is the end of section 3. You now have some time to check your answers to section 3. Section 4. You will hear university lecture on the development of written language across ancient civilizations. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'd like to take you on a journey through one of humanity's most transformative achievements, the development of written language across ancient civilizations. Writing didn't appear in a single location and spread outward, as was once assumed. Instead, it emerged independently in several regions, each time driven by remarkably similar practical needs, though the forms it took were strikingly different. Let's begin in ancient Mesopotamia, widely regarded as the birthplace of the earliest known writing system. Around 3400 BCE, the Sumerians developed what we call cuneiform. Now, the original purpose of this system was not literary or religious, it was primarily used for trade. Merchants needed a reliable method for recording transactions, particularly the quantities of goods such as grain and livestock moving between cities. The earliest tablets we've recovered are essentially receipts. The scribes used a reed instrument called a stylus to press wedge-shaped marks into soft clay tablets. Over time, these pictographic symbols became increasingly abstract, and by roughly 2600 BCE, cuneiform had evolved enough to record poetry and legal codes. Crucially, the material, clay, proved exceptionally durable, which is precisely why archaeologists have been able to recover hundreds of thousands of these tablets. Moving now to ancient Egypt, we find a rather different trajectory. Egyptian hieroglyphs appeared around 3200 BCE, and unlike cuneiform, their primary function from early on was closely tied to religion. Hieroglyphs adorned the walls of temples and tombs, and the Egyptians believed that inscribing certain spells and prayers was essential for guiding the deceased through the afterlife. The writing system contained over 700 distinct symbols, and mastering it required years of intensive training. Because of this complexity, literacy was restricted almost entirely to an elite class of scribes and priests. A significant breakthrough came with the use of papyrus, a material derived from a marsh plant that grew abundantly along the Nile. Papyrus was far lighter and more portable than clay, and it allowed the Egyptians to create scrolls that could store vast amounts of administrative and medical knowledge. Now let's turn to China, where an independent writing tradition emerged around 1200 BCE during the Shang dynasty. The earliest examples are found on what are known as oracle bones. These were pieces of turtle shell or animal bone used in divination rituals. A question would be carved onto the bone, which was then heated until it cracked, and the pattern of cracks was interpreted as an answer from ancestral spirits. What's remarkable is that the Chinese system is logographic, meaning each character represents an entire word or concept rather than a sound. This principle of representation has survived for over 3,000 years, making Chinese the oldest continuously used writing system in the world. By the time of the Han Dynasty, approximately 200 BCE, the invention of a brush made from animal hair enabled a much faster and more fluid style of writing, which ultimately gave rise to the celebrated art of calligraphy. Finally, I want to highlight a development that fundamentally reshaped writing worldwide: the creation of the alphabet. The first true alphabet is attributed to the Phoenicians, a seafaring civilization based in what is now Lebanon, around 1050 BCE. Their system contained just 22 symbols, each representing a single consonant sound. This was revolutionary because it dramatically reduced the number of characters a person had to memorize, making literacy accessible to a far wider segment of the population. The Phoenician alphabet spread rapidly through maritime commerce across the Mediterranean. The Greeks later adapted it, and their crucial innovation was adding symbols for vowels, producing the first complete alphabet with 24 letters. This Greek model became the foundation for both the Latin and Cyrillic scripts, which together account for the writing systems used by roughly half of the global population today. So to sum up, written language arose from practical necessity, evolved through cultural and technological innovation, and ultimately became one of the defining features of human civilization. Each system we've examined, Sumerian, Egyptian, Chinese, Phoenician, contributed something essential to the story of how we communicate on the page today. We'll continue next week by looking at the role of printing in democratizing the written word.
That is the end of section 4. You now have some time to check your answers to section 4. That is the end of the IELTS listening test. You now have some time to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with other test takers, and subscribe so you never miss your daily IELTS and CELPEEP tests. Drop your score in the comments. Your name could be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter. Stay consistent, stay focused, and keep leveling up with MasterPrep.